Hey, before we start, I want to say a couple things. Number one, this was taken from a stream that I did a couple days ago. Number two, this is not for children. If you are a child, do not watch this. We are talking about very serious, mature topics, and I do not want to scandalize any of you. With that said, onto the video. We're going to be talking about Steam, itch.io, and most recently the UK censoring pornography. I'd like to open with my own Twitter profile because I tweeted a lot about this in the past day or two. Yesterday I said the feminists have deporned parts of Steam and the entirety of itch.io. Thank you, feminists. Maybe you weren't so bad after all. And you're thinking, wow, you're thinking feminists? And it's like, yeah, I know. I never thought the day would come. But here's the thing. Frankly, they are the only ones who care to do anything about this. One of the accusations that we Christians get when we talk about banning adult content is the notion that we're super simple-minded. We don't think about the nuances. We don't think about consequences. We just want the thing banned, and consequences be darned. But no, that's not at all the case. We are. I would like to think that we're at least somewhat intelligent and we're capable of rational thought. I appreciate being nuanced about this. The feminists have deporned parts of Steam. What did they do? Well, there is this group of feminists that basically they gather together and they advocate for the removal of the objectification of women in media. And so this would be stuff like movies, television, and video games. And so ignoring past controversies, because again, they're feminists. I'm not going to agree with them on it and everything. Frankly, I'm surprised that I agree with them on anything at all. This group of feminists, they essentially they lobbied the payment processors in order to get them to remove the adult content from their from the storefronts that they serve. And so especially targeted were Steam and itch.io. And so Steam, everybody knows Steam is the central hub for PC gaming, and Steam had a whole load of games that were delisted, and I cheered. I love that. I love that. 100% I love that. Afterwards came itch.io, and itch.io delisted every single, as far as I know, every single pornographic game on their website. Every single one. That's incredible. It's wonderful because itch.io, I don't know if you knew this, but they kind of have a reputation for hosting just boatloads of, I'm going to say the term just because I don't think that there's a nice way of saying this, but gooner games. They have a whole host of gooner games. It's entirely inappropriate. That was the situation with Steam and itch.io. The biggest argument that was raised is oh, credit card companies shouldn't have this much power, this much authority. Problem is, they already do. I don't know if you remember, but back in 2022, we had the Canadian trucker convoy, and it was a protest against the, I'm going to call it the Wu flu, because I don't know if YouTube still censors it. The Canadian government was requiring that all truckers be injected with the shot for the Wu flu, and they need to be up to date with it and whatever. And the Canadian truckers didn't want to do that, and so they eventually converged in the city. I forget if it was Ontario or something. Eventually Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act. And so here, I'm just gonna quote this. In invoking the Emergencies Act, we are broadening the scope of Canada's anti-money laundering and terrorist financing rules so that they cover crowdfunding platforms and the payment service providers they use. These changes cover all forms of transactions, including digital assets such as cryptocurrencies. As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. In other words, and I know this is Canada, but this applies to other countries too. These payment processors, if they so choose, they already have this power. They just chose to exercise it because they were lobbied to do so. That's it. That's the only thing that changes here. They already had the power. They could use it for forever. So let's be thankful that instead of shutting down a rightful protest by freezing people's accounts and having them starve, basically, that instead of doing that, they're actually doing something good with it, even if they were forced to, even if their hand was forced by people who were profiteering on outrage, such as these feminists are. Frankly, God can write straight with crooked lines, and I think that's what's happening here. But that's the biggest argument against this whole thing. Can we ban lobbying? Lobby against it, perhaps? So true. That's the first thing, right? Let's just keep going down my list of tweets, because that was my initial plan. To everyone upset that gooner games and porn are being removed from video game marketplaces by payment processor companies, good. I'm glad you're upset. Pornography has no place in any society whatsoever, and good old games is next, you degenerates. I don't know how you disagree with this. Because again, even people that I Even people that agree with me that this stuff should be removed, they're like, well, payment processor companies shouldn't be doing that because, like, what are they going to do next? What other thing that they don't like are they going to do next? What other group are they going to acquiesce to when they get lobbied? And you know what? That's a fair assessment. But for now, we can be satisfied with it because, hey, there's nothing you can do to change that, frankly. These people have always had this power. They're just exercising it now. It's the same thing with, like, Nintendo bricking systems. All of these companies that make video game consoles, they can brick your system, and they have been able to brick your system since the advent of like internet related OSs on consoles, like at least since the PlayStation 4. They've been able to do that. They just, it's just that Nintendo was the only one stupid enough to try. And likewise, these credit card companies, like the first ones to, this is their first foray. It just happened to be Steam that suffered the first blow. So this is one such person that I don't like. But it says this person I do like. It says, great news from UK. X acts like a pornography site in that it allows porn with no age / consent verification. So let's treat it accordingly. Musk has been told X must block children from all pornographic content on his platform by Friday, or face the prospect of multi-million pound fines. Multi-million pound fines. Oh, that's incredible. Packer Girl does not like that. She says, "Welp, the UK is bending the knee to the emboldened Karens. Hopefully Elon Musk tells these people to pound sand." So I reply, I quote tweet, "You amoral rat would rather see children addicted to pornography than suffer any tiny loss to the yottabytes of pornography that exists on the internet. I hope the Karens keep pissing you off. Sincerely, guy who hates everything you stand for." And I got a lot of replies. I got a lot of angry people in my replies. And the biggest response that I got was, parents should parent their kids. Hey, genies, genies, hey, that has not worked. That has not worked. This is very important to keep in mind, okay? It takes a village to raise a family. It does. It really does. It takes a village to raise a family, and it is unfair to put the entirety of the burden on parents. Now, that said, obviously parents are responsible for their children. You will never catch me saying anything to the contrary. So, understanding me in this context that I just laid out, what I'm going to say does not run contrary to what I just said. And that is, if parents fail to properly protect their children from these very obvious harms, and there is an easy way for the government to step in and do something, or for society, members of society, private citizens or corporations to step in and defend these kids and protect them from the evils that are out there and that are actively targeting them, by the way, that has been proven. If there is a way for that to happen without great cost to the community, then it should happen. Society should get involved. It is their business, actually. It is society's business to protect the collective of children that exist in that society, obviously. If you think about it for more than 5 minutes, that makes the most sense. That makes the most sense out of any take that has been espoused on this topic. Obviously, society should get involved, because we've been saying the same thing for years on a variety of topics. Parents should just parent their kids. It was said about smartphones. It was said about violent video games. It was said about the television. Parents should just parent their kids. Whenever you point out that these things have negative consequences and they negatively impact children, hey, genius. A lot of parents are just simply stupid. No, really, they are. I'll speak from experience. Somebody in chat earlier mentioned that they were exposed to it at age 12. I was exposed to pornography at age 10. My parents, I don't blame them. They just didn't know, okay? My parents didn't know. My parents are old. They're like older Gen X. They didn't know. They didn't understand what this new technology was. And they certainly didn't have it in their minds that like fast and easy and ready and anonymous access to internet pornography was just a few taps away. They had no conception of that. And so parents today, likewise, maybe they just don't remember, because, you know, a lot of times, like, you'll be like, oh, you know, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, doesn't my mom and my dad, don't they remember being a kid when they give me these punishments or whatever? You know that sort of mentality. They actually sometimes just don't remember being a kid. And I think this is one area, because they think it's so normalized, right? Adults using pornography is so normalized that they don't even stop to think about, like, they don't really ponder like how it is that they were exposed to it as children. And so the average age that like a person is exposed to pornography is age 11. And it targets kids. Obviously, it targets kids. How do I know this? Because as soon as a state passes age verification laws, Pornhub shuts down. I don't think I need to say more, honestly. They're giving away the game here. They're not even trying to hide it. It's so transparent that they are targeting children. We saw it as kids. because a friend showed us and a friend showed them. That is like the average case for a Zoomer male. It's very difficult to find a Zoomer who doesn't have a story like that. So obviously it targets kids. And so when the parents fail, a lot of the time it's not even like willful negligence. They just don't know better. Like when you put an iPhone with Cocoa Melon on it in front of your 5-year-old and you just have them watch it while you cook dinner, all you see as an adult, all that you see, all that your like brain perceives is cute, child-friendly animation with a nursery rhyme. What the kid sees is hypnosis. Like that's what the kid sees. The kid sees hypnosis, but you don't see that as an adult. You just think I'm putting on some children's entertainment for my kid, and you go and you cook dinner. I don't fault a lot of the parents who gave their kids Cocoa Melon and now their kids are addicted to Cocoa Melon, because it was designed to be so, and it was designed to bypass the ordinary means that parents utilize to detect whether or not something is harmful for their children. This is Cocoa Melon, but the same thing happens with pornography. For example, Elsagate content. YouTube should have taken it down. Oh, parents should parent their kids. It's Elsa and Spider-Man. It's Elsa and Spider-Man. What do you expect these parents to do? They see Elsa and Spider-Man and they think kids content. It's not until they see the big bulging pregnant belly that they figure that something's wrong. And by then, the kids probably consumed like at least 5 hours of that stuff over the course of maybe 2 weeks. Elsagate is deliberately designed to sneak past a parent's like danger sense. It's like if you were to like walk up to Spider-Man and punch him directly in the face, and it turns out that you were wearing some sort of specialized equipment that disables his spidey sense. That's what's going on here. Parents understand that things are dangerous for their kids. They're able to intuit that a lot of the time, but these companies are a step ahead, maybe multiple steps ahead, because they've already planned for that and designed their systems and their advertising and their branding in such a way that bypasses the parents' defense mechanisms. And so they don't even conceive the idea that their kid, who is like, 11 years old, could be watching pornography on their smartphone already. Oh, why are they giving the kids smartphones? Gee, because every kid has a smartphone and your kid doesn't want to feel left out. It's like it's the age-old dilemma. And if you want to say the parents should be stricter, cool, but that's not happening. That's not happening. And you can't just wash your hands of the situation if children are suffering. If there's something you can do, if there's something society can do as a collective, if there's something that the government can do as an entity, when the parents consistently fail because they weren't parented properly. The boomers and the older Gen X didn't parent the millennials well enough, and the millennials are not parenting their Gen Alpha and Gen Beta kids well. I mean, maybe Gen Beta. We don't know about Gen Beta because those are very new. There's not a whole lot of parenting to have been done, but you get the point. Parents should parent their kids. They haven't been doing that for the past few decades. When are you going to stop washing your hands of the situation and take some gosh darn accountability? When are you going to do that? Because I don't think you ever plan to. We need to stop being free speech absolutists, because that's what these replies are all about. That's what all of them are about. They really are. It's your parents should parent their kids, and free speech absolutism. Free speech absolutism is incompatible with Christianity. We should establish that from the onset. We've been deluded into thinking that free speech absolutism is compatible with Christianity. It's not. It's not. It obviously isn't. One of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Not everything has to be sacrificed at the altar of free speech. Free speech is not an end unto itself. It is a means to an end. And that end is goodness. And when it's not being used for good, that speech can be curtailed. The vast majority of Christian societies have had blasphemy laws. To me, not everything should be family friendly. Death Note is not family friendly, but we love that. But yeah, but the concern is pornography is so much worse than any of all this stuff. That's why I don't take comparisons to serious themes like death and murder in like true crime or whatever. I don't take those comparisons seriously. True crime or a beach episode, maybe the Naruto sexy jutsu. It just does not compare to pornography. It doesn't. They're so far away from each other. This idea that, they first they came for the porn, next they'll come for your video games. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. No, it's an absurd notion. It's stupid. Free speech absolutism is such an idol, but I do not know what vice it even correlates to. Pride, perhaps? Pride correlates to every sin, but no, it correlates with sloth, because it's an outgrowth of libertarianism and individualism, like radical individualism. That's what it correlates to. It correlates to sloth. I don't have to do anything.
I don't want anyone to impose anything on me. I don't want any obligations on my person. I just want to be able to do whatever the heck I want. Hey, genius, there's a difference between freedom and liberty. Freedom is the ability to do whatever you want. Liberty is the ability to do that which you ought to do, that which you should do. Those are two different things. Allowing obscenity, allowing pornography, allowing blasphemy, it is not conducive to liberty. It's conducive to freedom. It's not conducive to liberty. I don't like freedom in isolation. I like freedom when it is the basis for liberty, because that is its proper place. Freedom is only good insofar as it is the basis for liberty. And allowing obscenity just doesn't do that. It doesn't. In just 1 week, itch.io was deporned. Let's go. Steam partly deporned. Let's go. The UK requires age verification for all porn sites. That is the breaking news for today. There's a lot that's wrong with the Online Safety Act in the UK. That's incredible. And X, the platform that I'm tweeting on, is being threatened with massive fines by the UK if they don't properly age restrict porn on their platform. The tide is turning, gang. The tide is turning. We're winning. This is in reference to the Online Safety Act, which broadly it targets right-wingers generally. It just happened to it just happened to age restrict pornography. But what we forget is that like laws that breach your privacy can be repealed fairly easily. It's very easy to appeal to a well-meaning judge, like, hey, you should strike this down. However, laws that require age verification to access adult content are way harder to justify repealing. Because it's like, you're going to go out to the judge like, hey, judge, you should get rid of this age verification site that requires, a content that is 18 plus to be gate kept from the 18 below. And the judge is going to look at you. It's like, okay, why do you want that? Like, it's harder to justify doing that. Like, especially if you have like precedent for not precedent, but like if you have like examples of what the harm that it can cause is, like say, the cops go arrest a guy for quote unquote hate speech, and that guy resists because he hasn't broken any legitimate law for like saying, I don't know, I don't like the influx of infinity third worlders coming into the UK, and that guy gets arrested for hate speech or whatever, and he resists and he gets shot by the cops. You can take that to a judge or whatever the equivalent is in England. You can take that and be like, hey, this law very clearly does not do what it's supposed to do, and it actually leads to deaths, and it's already caused a death. It's already caused an incident. I think it's a lot easier to repeal a bad law than it is to repeal a good law. Like, I want to strike down this age verification law. Why? Because it requires my ID, and that's a violation of my privacy. And it's like, okay. But back when you would buy pornography in person, you would go to the store and you would go to the back room or whatever. You weren't anonymous back then. They weren't violating your privacy by requiring an ID for you to enter the store. Moreover, it's like if you even back before that, like if you were subscribed to Playboy, it's like Playboy knew your name and address, and they knew where you lived, bro. Like, you were not entitled to privacy when consuming pornography. That's been the precedent for the vast majority of even recent history, but certainly the entirety of modern history as well. It's only in the last maybe like 15 years that we've seen this rise. Maybe 15 20 years, I guess, if you're older, but for me it would be more like 15 years, at least as far as I've experienced it. This rise in the idea that you should be perfectly free to be as anonymous as possible while consuming like the most degenerate pornography, and that's obviously not the case. That's just obviously not true. And then finally, I don't know if you noticed, I got ratioed like pretty heavily in the comments. I got ratioed real bad. Yeah, if you look up like Steam censorship, everyone's talking about this. Everyone was talking about these situations, and like, look, this is worrying. It is so worrying that Steam delisted Sister Fister 3000, to paraphrase Mutahar. Like, come on. Like, dude, are you hearing yourself? And so all of the worst people that you know are in on it. All of these people, like the worst people that you know, are doing all of the same things. The game ban wave is real. Steam.itch.io censorship. And so this is what I meant by the title of the live stream, if you couldn't tell. If this is what censorship means, and it is actually, that censorship does mean that, then I love censorship. I love censorship. If that's what it means. Look, Steam is under attack by Asmongold Gold. Steam censorship is worse than you think. 37,000 views. Steam censorship situation just got worse. 75,000 views. Valve no longer controls Steam. The implication being that the payment processors do. Newsflash, they always have. They always have. And they had to comply because what's the alternative? No, really, what is the alternative? You just don't get money for selling games on your marketplace? Obviously, they had to comply. Same thing with itch.io. It's like, oh, 20,000 games gone. Good. Because all that stuff that was removed is Gooner games. It is literally just pornography that is slightly interactive. Again, Sister Fister 3000. That's what's being defended here. Those are the games that are being removed that people are panicking over. So Ordinary Gamers, Mudahar. I watched this video and he's actually like a little more reasonable, but even he is like, the internet is being censored. He's not a small channel. He's got, 3.8 million subscribers. He can get 265,000 views on a video whose title and thumbnail doesn't mean anything. This guy is huge. And I personally watch him. I watch a lot of Mudahar. If I was logged into my account, you would find that a lot of these videos I have like played all the way through. However, I don't like that he defends this stuff. I don't like that he defends these games. If you look itch.io situation, I'm sure the situation is crazy. Did I call it or did I call it? The internet is being censored. The itch.io situation is wild. 10,000 views, 270,000 views. Chibi Reviews, that's another big one that's talking about this. He's always against the censorship laws for pornography. Smash JT, that's another big guy. 26,000 views. Adult Game Reviews, I'm sure you're terribly, I'm sure this is 9/11 to you. I'm sure that these 4 things are like 4 separate 9/11s to this guy over here, Adult Game Reviews. The biggest YouTubers on these topics are freaking out about this. But yeah, Packer Girl is like a big one too. Where she's just like, oh, censorship, free speech, censorship, free speech. And it's like, okay, where were you when Twitter was Twitter, not X, and it was deplatforming people for saying that there are only 2 genders and that those are male and female? When did you say that? And if you did, congratulations, at least you're being somewhat consistent. But the outrage is obviously not because censorship. It's because pornography. Because the Gooners are upset that they're losing their games. They don't comprehend that there's more morality to it than just, it doesn't feature real people. I sound like Joe Biden. It doesn't feature real people, so therefore it's not bad. Like, if you look at one such website that was age restricted in the UK, like Rule 34, they're like, oh, your stupid government shut down our cartoon website. It's like, no, you are a gigantic pornography conglomerate. You are not a cartoon website. That is disingenuous at the very least, an outright lie at worst. One more thing on the censorship front. I saw this quote by this tweet by a podcast on. So everyone crying censorship and slippery slope, I want to ask, how many of you spoke up when Christians were stopped from preaching, from praying, or from exercising their speech in the UK? Don't expect us to come support you when they censor your vice. This is exactly it. This is what I said earlier. People have been arrested for praying silently in front of an abortion facility. Just praying the rosary in silence. Not even in front of the building, just like somewhere in a street corner that looks that you can look at the building from. Within proximity of the building. That's considered an arrestable offense, an actionable legal offense in the UK. Not a peep from these freedom of speech absolutist virtue signalers. Not a peep. I don't want to hear, my Sister Fister 5000 was removed from itch.io and Steam. I don't care. Good. And I hope everything else that you like gets removed. Guide to censorship. Is it against my views? Yes. Then it's 1984. If it's not against my views, then it's based. And because I am a Catholic and therefore everything that I believe on this subject is definitively taught by the Church of Christ, this is very true. And yes, it is a double standard. but it's a good one. You should have a double standard for truth and falsehood. All right, I think we've sort of rambled enough. This has been fun.